Good evening, folks, and welcome to yet another episode of DinamoTV. Tonight's a very, very special one. It is episode 32, and boy, is tonight going to be a big one. My name's Taunchi Prusatz. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you for the next 60 minutes or so. Yes, maybe the senior season has finished, but there's still a lot of football left in 2024. Before you know it, it'll be time for the tournament, the Australian-Croatian soccer tournament. Speaking of which, tonight we start a new series where we get to know our platinum sponsors. And tonight we'll be catching up with Matt Sharkic from Evolution Electrical. Big cheerio to all the Evolution Electrical mob out there in Hillside. I was out there the other day catching up with them and with Matt. And great to see they all tune in from time to time on DinamoTV. Now, the Living Legend. Tonight, episode 3 of our Dinamo Living Legends series. And they don't come bigger than our tonight's guest. So big that we've had to break up the interview in 2 parts. And the first part during his days as a player and his playing days will be screened tonight. Next week, we'll continue with his coaching days. And yes, who are we talking about? We are talking about none other than the man after whom the best and fairest medal is named after. That's right, MICKY COLINA. Mickey C will be joining us a little bit later on in the show as well. So it is a jam-packed show, folks, tonight. We are going to go straight into the news desk because there's a lot to cover tonight. It's DinamoTV you are watching.
The IND Group is regarded as one of the largest deliverers of concrete structure solutions in Victoria. Formed in 1994 by Ivan and Kathy Filipovic, their passion and commitment to getting the job done safely and economically has underpinned their success in the industry. IND partners with large-scale building and construction companies in both the private and public sectors on projects large and small. With our corporate headquarters based in South Melbourne and storage yard based in the southeast suburbs, we have at our disposal thousands of square metres of quality materials along with state-of-the-art lifting and crane equipment, enabling us to deliver the largest projects. We are committed to delivering high-quality projects by partnering with our clients and collaborating with project suppliers to ensure each job is delivered to exceed expectations. From humble beginnings, IND now employs more than 1,200 dedicated professional and support staff, involved in a number of landmark projects right across Victoria. The IND Group is a massive supporter of the Croatian community, backed soccer clubs in Victoria, and is proud to be the major sponsor of the St. Albans Dinamo Football Club in 2024.
Welcome back to DinamoTV, and it is time for the news desk, of course. And we're going to straight away turn into our attention to last weekend's final match of the NPL Victoria season. We took on top team South Melbourne and took the lead early on, but it just wasn't to be. But here are the match highlights from Lakeside Stadium from last Sunday.
Gets his first South appearance since July. As we see Ross Archibald, Andy Brennan, Josh Franco, Robert Harden, Cooper Harpenny, Mac Hilson, Christian Inglese, Willem Lejeune, Jack Pope, Emil Pios, and George Tinaras take the field. And Christian Inglese, Lucas Inglese's brother, of course, more of a striker in terms of his intentions, but can be played as a central defender as well at times. Also gets his first league appearance since April. Number taken up by Marko Martinovic. A couple of number changes for St. Albans today, which is not the easiest thing for us commentators to contend with. Here is Martinovic once more. Slides it into the mixer, and the shot on goal eventually did arrive.
Decisive ball for Monek. Back towards Martinovic. Here's Summerskill. Options available for him to shoot, but South with all men behind the ball just about except for Andy Brennan. And it's Summerskill. Oh! How about that? Brian Summerskill from well out of range. And their winning form potentially might continue with an absolute peach from Brian Summerskill. And what the cross unable to be fashioned. Dandenong Thunder have equalised against Moreland City. Melbourne Knights have scored another against Green Gully. And there it is for Robert Harding. Well, he's getting quite the habit of scoring at Lakeside Stadium. 3 weeks back, he scored against Port Melbourne, and isn't that the way to reply?
We do have a triple change for the home side at half-time. Yes, triple change. Lucas Inglese, the brother of Christian Inglese, has come on, as well as Max Mikola and Mario Barcia. Mikola got sent off against the Oakley Cannons in the Doherty Cup final 2 weeks ago and does return today alongside a plethora of other
Pope opening up the angle. It's Pios. It's Hilson! Your debut goal is always special. But at plate day, it is even more sweeter for him. What a story. The former Bendigo City and Hume youngster scoring his...
On the edge of the area, towards the byline. They'll win a corner. And might they bring up Marko Bulic? And he's been asked to go towards the middle. It's Burns. It's a great delivery. And Mikola gets it clear. And the final whistle blows. South Melbourne FC, NPL Victoria Premiers for the second time in 3 years. This is a special...
Unfortunately, couldn't just do it at the very end, but what a gallant end of season finish for Dinamo's senior men's team. 5 wins on the trot, secured safety from relegation, and then it came down to the last game where we were defeated by the minor premiers. Fantastic result in the end. Dinamo finishing in 11th position above Green Gully, Manningham United, and Moreland City. So a fantastic end of season result. Also having an absolute perler end to their season were the under 23s. A week prior, they defeated top team Green Gully, and this week they defeated second place team South Melbourne 5-3 to finish the season in 4th position. Now, at one stage, the under 23s, they were second last. So magnificent job, and shout out to Adam Tenanini, the coach, and Ian Burke for doing such a wonderful job, and to the youngsters as well who really, really stepped up. In that final game, Ivan Razumic, Nicholas Mori, Jacob Di Fiore, Jesse Chop, and an own goal. They were the goal scorers for Dinamo. Now, on next week's show, we will have Adam Tenanini come on. He was unable to come on this week due to work commitments, conference commitments. We also decided we're going to give the seniors a little bit of a break. They are taking a 2-week break now before they reconvene and start training for the upcoming Croatian soccer tournament. Unfortunately, the good news did not continue through to the senior women's, who suffered their first loss against a rejuvenated Altona City, who last week defeated Westgate, the league leaders, inflicting their first loss for the season. And this week, unfortunately, it was the turn of our Dinamo ladies to suffer their first loss of the season, going down 2-1 to Altona City at their newly redeveloped Kim Reserve. Sienna Delia scoring the only goal for Dinamo. As a result, St Albans now slipped to 3rd position. They do have a game in hand on the other two, but have slipped precariously or dangerously away from Westgate. 7 points. And this weekend, in fact, tomorrow, Dinamo takes on Westgate at Ardea Reserve, 7:45 p.m. kickoff. Quickly moving through the JB NPL now. In the round 17, the under-14s won 2-1, beating Altona Magic. The under-15s lost 2-3 to Hume City. The under-16s defeated Werribee City 4-0, while the under-18s convincingly defeated Geelong 6-0. And it must be said, Maksim Mikulic scored on his debut, earlier that day he scored 2 goals for the under-15s. So he's been in fine form in the 15s, made his debut and scored on debut in the 6-0 win for the under-18s. This Sunday, round 18 action, 5 more games to go. Dinamo hosting Bendigo City in the later kickoff time of 11:45 in the under-14s. The under-15s at Stead Park in Geelong at 11:15. The under-16s host Bendigo City at Churchill Reserve at 1:15. And then the under-18s travel to Churchill Reserve at 1:15. And then the under-18s travel to Dunstan Reserve to take on Brunswick City. That game kicking off at 3 p.m. Apart from that, we've got social functions coming up now at Dinamo. And we've got Father's Day buffet night next Friday. That's the 30th of August from 7 p.m. Bookings are essential, so message Anna on 0401 505 100. I'll leave that number there just a little bit longer. And that now brings us pretty much to our next, our first guest for tonight. When we return, folks, we will be speaking to Evolution Electrical's Matt Sharkic, who is one of the platinum sponsors of this year's tournament. Okay, welcome back to DinamoTV, and we're here in Hillside, out in the western suburbs, and we're at in the boardroom of Evolution Electrical, and the man behind Evolution, of course, our platinum sponsor for this year's Australian-Croatian soccer tournament, Matt Sharkic. Matt, how are you? And welcome to DinamoTV. Welcome back to DinamoTV, because we spoke to you early in the year.
That's right, and thanks for reaching out again, Tonchi. It's been a little while since that pre-season luncheon that we had at the club, and just thought it'd be a good opportunity to catch up and review the season that was, and have a bit of a chit-chat about what's coming up at the CST 2024.
Yeah, well, let's before we talk about that, and before we talk about the year, what an eventful year it's been. I can't believe how quickly the year's gone by. Let's talk about your business. Let's talk about Evolution Electrical, and it's grown dramatically in the last few years, just like everything around Dinamo as well. But tell us a little bit about your business.
So Evolution Electrical, we established, Kathy, my wife, and myself back in 2011. Started off a small little contractor, but we had some ambition and some desire to see, I suppose, how far we can grow our business and how we can offer support to our clients. And over the last 13 or 14 odd years, we've taken it to levels that I think exceeded our expectations. We predominantly do domestic new home construction, being from underground mains installations with our own excavators and the likes. all the way through the finishing touches, including home automation, alarms. HVAC is a new division that we've introduced in the last year or so. So we've got a plethora of
services, I
services,
suppose,
plethora of services that we can.
So you could almost say you're like a one-stop shop from the start right to the finish, as you said, from excavating to, I guess, planning as well is involved in that as well, the electrical side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a whole support staff, administration team that does all our preparation, scoping, material sourcing. There's a lot of, obviously, with automation at the moment, there's a lot of new product out in the market where new homeowners want, hey Google, can you turn on my lights? Or hey Google, turn on DinamoTV. So those things really take some time from the back end. Another new and exciting area of domestic construction is the NDIS program created by the government. That is really taking off. Different kind of work that we're sort of used to, and it is in the domestic construction space, however, under a commercial environment where there's a lot of, obviously, regulations with UPS power backups and fire and the likes, obviously, to cater for the people that require these services in homes.
Beautiful. Do you mainly deal with businesses, or like builders, I should say, or where do you get most of the work? The people sort of come to you, or you go out looking for it with, like I said, builders or that sort of type thing?
Yeah, Tonch. It's mainly new home builders, construction groups. We do service, I suppose, number 2 and number 3. Quantity builders ranked in Victoria at the moment. That's how obviously helped our business grow to the level that it's become. In these businesses, there are individuals that we have met along the way, I suppose, through football, which brings business and football into the sort of same bucket. And obviously having those relationships prior to people obviously entrusted in what we can provide, and we deliver. And that, I suppose, has got us to where it is. We also go with there are your mums and dads that do their unit developments and the likes like that, medium density projects, and we offer support to all those people that are wanting to have a go at building and try to take them through their journey.
Brilliant. Now let's talk about your relationship with Dinamo. It's a long and an extensive one, and it's quite a direct one because you've got children playing at Dinamo. And well, first of all, how did you get involved with Dinamo, and why do you support Dinamo St Albans?
It's probably history and a bit of nostalgia going back to when we were children. Uncles and kumavi that were in the club and in the committees back then, and we were little tackers running around, under 9s. You played with the likes of Tom Miladovic and Steve Berbich. That was our group back then. And then as you grow older, you sort of fall out of the running to play at a reserve or a senior level. So you join what we know as the old boys or the Vukovar boys and spend a lot of time playing there. So with all your family, friends along the way, and you learn your culture and the history of the club, it almost seems like a no-brainer to bring your kids back to the club and try to get them to experience what I suppose me and my wife have had over the years culturally through our community. And I'd love our children not only to develop with the football side of things, but also the cultural side of things. It's really important that they understand the heritage and what it was and the battles to get the club to coming up to 50 years next year.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting point you say about it. And it is a football club, but it's more than just a football club, and the community is so intertwined. And I guess if we look at it, from a Croatian community perspective, sadly, I guess since independence 30 odd years ago, the community has been in decline, but it seems to be the football clubs, the soccer clubs, that are still keeping that community spirit alive. Would you say that's the case down at St Albans Dinamo?
Yeah, most definitely. It is the soccer, and I suppose that we do have obviously our Croatian schools and the folkloric dancing, which are still trying to keep that cultural tie together. But I believe the football clubs are the ones that are keeping the community strong. Now, I think I touched on our previous interview many years ago. I was a common feature at the Croatian Friday night disco or parties at the wayside, along with Major Minor and the likes, and that was a huge part of our growing up, and our generation continuously talks about it and say how good these days were. Unfortunately, that's fallen away within our community, and obviously kids branching out to other areas and the likes, and I suppose that's part of the growth and moving on from our generation. However, what I'm finding at Dinamo at the moment, especially at Dinamo, is our generation are coming back, that we all hung out and sort of played soccer together and went out together, and now it's our turn to bring our kids to that, to try to instill that culture into them. And I see it more and more so coming through with the kids. It's fantastic to see around the club.
So, I've totally forgot about the Wayside days. Yes, yeah, good old days. Oh, the Wayside Hotel out in South Melbourne. But I guess with the tournament, and let's turn our attention now to the tournament. The tournament coming up in late September is going to have something for everyone. The footballers, the elite ones, the social footballers. Then it's going to have, I guess, the social side of things as well, the gala ball, but also there's going to be fish night. There's also going to be a ladies' night. There's going to be things for the kids. So there's something for everyone. I guess, in a way, we're trying to bring back some of those glory days from yesteryear so that the current generation can enjoy it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think hoping that is the final outcome at the inception and the granting of the tournament to Dinamo. I was a part of what was known as the Super 9 starting committee, along with Marko Butarac and co. Unfortunately, with work commitments and life commitments, I chose to stand down and to allow them to bring a person that can deliver what's required to host this tournament. The tournament is one of my favourite parts of the year. It really is. You've maybe seen us around days of playing for Vukovar, and after that playing with Strathmore and winning the 2014. So that's our 10-year anniversary from Wollongong. It's really part of my family and our family calendar. Being that we've travelled to Perth and New Zealand, and we really haven't missed out on these things. So granted the opportunity to host that at your home club, I'm hoping that with what you said, bringing those yesteryears back into a tournament of today, there will be something for the young, there'll be something for us and something for the older to experience and maybe reminisce. I think there's a lot on offer. And I think the committee and the club will absolutely nail it. Just hoping that, being Melbourne, the weather holds out. But yeah, there's a lot of things planned and installed for obviously the two facilities hosting the event, be it Keilor Wolves and at Churchill. And I honestly think that the club and the committee will nail it. I'm hoping to see all old friends and faces around and catch up at the bars. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And is that probably one of the reasons why you decided to sponsor the tournament?
Well, look, yeah, it was. We're obviously a supporter, a sponsored supporter of St Albans Dinamo, and then the opportunity to support them in their quest to nail this tournament. There's been a lot of works with obviously the scoreboard coming up and the development of those things. That we refurbed the bathrooms earlier in the year, and obviously the decorating and the preparation of the marquees and the likes. There's a lot of work involved, so we thought we can knuckle up, buckle down, and get this show on the road, I suppose.
Yeah. Now, it's been a big year on the field and off the field. It was a bit of a struggle with the seniors, but came good in the end. And these are some big announcements. The club has in recent weeks announced Jason Trefiro from Sydney will be relocating down to Melbourne, and he's going to become the technical director. We saw Johnny Bilosh in Zagreb announce a closer alliance between the mother club, I guess, Dinamo Zagreb and St Albans Dinamo. And the numbers have just been super astounding. And as you mentioned, the electronic scoreboard about to be erected, and there's a heap of other things happening. It must be an exciting time to be part of the St Albans Dinamo community, Matt.
Yeah, it is. I think I'll start off with the first team. Obviously, being one of the major supporters of the first team, it was quite a relief to see them stay in and actually staying really well the last 6 weeks when Cam and Billy got on board and some reinforcements landed, which was fantastic. Coming into our 50th year next year, I think it was very important that the club stayed in that top flight. And that was probably on the field the biggest relief. Off the field, well, there's not much more to be said. There's tournaments, there's developments, there's planning for the future, change rooms, the women's program getting more support, the mini-roos program. Another thing that Evolution done this year was supported the actual entire mini-roo program on top of what we usually support with the club overall. We just wanted to help get the goals achieved with Stepan and the mini-roo committee to get them where they want to get to, which I suppose brings us on to the conversation of Jason and football tech. When this sort of came to conversation, I was extremely excited, having experienced firsthand last year at the Premier Invitational on the Gold Coast with my son and Stepan Gale's team, who was a fantastic team with some really quality players, come up against these boys from Football Tech, and we were absolutely gobsmacked at the professionalism and the input they have to these children. So firsthand, when experiencing that, and if we can get some sort of development with our children off the program Football Tech have presented, it's going to be nothing but a huge benefit for all kids, irrespective of whether they're at an academy level or introduction development level. They'll all benefit from this program. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Glenn and Jason earlier in the year when we had the Football Tech Academy come to Dinamo in April. My son, as soon as he heard they were coming, he's like, "Dad, I'm doing it." And yeah, just seeing the next level of professionalism, it was really, really exciting when the news broke that Jason will be coming down. So looking really forward to it.
Well, that brings us, I guess, to the end of our little chat. And Matt, thanks so much for all your sponsorship and your support, but also your insights into what has been a great year and the tournament. I really, really enjoyed reminiscing just what you're talking about and talking about some of the good old days, Perth, Sydney, Wollongong, as you say. But it really is a time of, enjoying the football. Hopefully the weather's going to be fine. But most importantly, I guess, reliving old friendships and creating new ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'd love to see as many people come down to Dinamo this year and really get stuck into the football, but more so the partying and the reminiscing. And it is what it is. And after that, we'll wrap it up and we'll go to the next city and we'll catch up again over there, I suppose.
That will do. Thanks very much. Matt Sharkish from Evolution Electrical, one of our platinum sponsors for this year's Australian-Croatian soccer tournament. We'll be back shortly after this very, very brief break. Welcome back to DinamoTV, and we're in this little studio tucked away somewhere in the western suburbs, a secret location. Yeah. It is actually the studio of a popular Croatian cover band and original band, Major Minor. And do I even need to introduce our next guest? He's so famous down at Dinamo that he's even got an award named after him. Mickey Colina, welcome back to DinamoTV. I was going to say welcome, but welcome back. You've been on the show before. How are you?
Yeah, super, and very humbled to be part of this, Tonchi. So thanks for the invitation. Really glad to be part of this. So thank you.
Yeah. Now we talked about major minor. We'll talk about that part of, I guess, your ongoing decades-long contribution to the Croatian community in that manner. But we'll talk about St Albans Dinamo and your long and illustrious and ongoing connection with Dinamo as part of the Living Legends series. And mate, you say you're humbled. I'm humbled to be in the presence of Dinamo royalty. But let's go all the way back and talk about the early days and how you first got involved with St Albans Dinamo.
Yeah, I think it goes back 1979, 1980, where we lived at the back of Dobson Reserve, and my brothers and I looked over the back fence, and we noticed a football match going on, and we noticed the team wearing a white strip with a red, white, and blue sash. And we figured we'd go across to have a look, and we walked around the block and started watching this game, and we found, it was a Croatian team. And it was a Sunday League team, or in those days it was called the Industrial League. And I think they went under the name of Dinamo Motors. As we sort of got to follow these guys on a relatively every fortnightly basis, we met individuals there, which we'll obviously touch on later on, but people like Jozo Jovic, there's people like Frankie Ivkovic, Tommy Njegac, late Marko Dorinko, there was his brother Mate, Ivan Maric, Željko Maric, just to name a few of these people that were playing in this team.
So they would have been, in their late 20s, 30s?
Yeah, I would imagine so. And even Miro Hedges was involved there, and we were sort of just rapt to be watching a Croatian team play at the back of our house, because in those days, obviously, we grew up. Malmo Croatia was our team. We always went to follow and watch, and then as a kid, being able to go watch some senior football, although it was Sunday League stuff, but for us it was a big deal, I suppose. And being Croatian team playing, we sort of ended up following them regularly, and my dad would come and met a few other people, and anyway, fast forward, I think probably about 12 months. I think from that is where the inception of them making a junior team or junior teams started, and there was a few people involved with that, and I think one of them comes to mind was the late Bocha Radoš, who I think was the president of Dinamo when it first become what it was when we moved to St Albans. Even I just remember, mustering up all these kids. There was parents that got involved, and I remember we had a training session at St Albans High School. At the back there, and the grass was like, 1 foot tall, and it was probably 20v20 on the ground, and everyone's kicking the ball around, and from that is where we started different age groups and teams, and created enough numbers to. I think that we had an under 8s team, under 9s. I know my brothers played, and I was under 11s, and Jozo Jovic ended up becoming my first coach, and he was somebody that had a big impact on me personally as a junior footballer. And so we played out there at Dobson Reserve, was our home ground. And so it all started back there, and it was like, I think 1980, it was the first structured football environment where it all began. So that was pretty much the start.
So you're right there pretty much from the start, and then as fate would have it, you kind of moved up through the ranks of the juniors, and then obviously got to the seniors. But before we get to the seniors, let's recollect the moments, of some of the more, I guess, the fond memories, if you like, of the juniors. What were some of the things that really stand out playing for the juniors at Dinamo?
Well, look, first and foremost, as any kid, to be part of a structured footballing environment, and obviously a Croatian team, naturally there's always that Croatian connection to represent a Croatian team playing week in, week out. And so I think as a kid, it was very simple. It was just getting the opportunity to play football and being part of a team. Like everyone always seeks some kind of belonging to something, and you know, you found this almost, how do I put it? Like it's always become this secondary kind of family, you know, and without being over dramatic, but it gave you some connection to something that was very special and very different. And as you went through that, in terms of fond memories, obviously, then naturally you talk about winning games or scoring goals or whatever that may be. But I mean, aside from the obvious, because that's too difficult to probably break down, I think the things that stand out is just like any kid, presentation nights, getting your trophies and things like that. Then there was I think very simple, just being amongst, how should I say, without like-minded, but Croatian people in the Croatian community, and obviously we're very active, and you know it's an extension for your parents to continue being part of the community now, and there's another facet of it being a sporting club, you know, a football club, and then you know as you see the whole thing grow and move towards what it becomes today, and you reflect on. But I think as a kid, just being part of it was probably the biggest thing that stood out for me personally. Yeah,
you had a meteoric rise up through the juniors, and then you got to about 15 when you started tapping on the door of the senior squad, and you got your break. Tell us how that all came about. You were 15, 16 at the time?
Yeah, look, at 15 I was playing in the reserves, and in those days, like, we didn't have age limitation. You know, you didn't have the under 21s or under 23s that they got now. So pretty much the reserves are very open. You know, we had older players in our reserve side, and we had, you know, some younger players. I mean, I was the youngest one in the team. And, you know, you're lucky enough to, you know, share the room with some really notable people. And so I think it was in 1985, Tony Virginia just came to the club, and the club was struggling. And, you know, maybe because I was one of the bigger guys and God knows what, and, you know, I'd like to think that I had something that he saw that was worthwhile investing in. And so you train with the senior squad, and it wasn't full time, but, you know, you get the call up here and there, and sometimes you sit on the bench. And I made my first appearance off the bench. It was against Thomastown in 85 in May, and I came on and played like 20 minutes because I used to play up front. I was a striker through my days.
So you started off playing up front?
Yeah. So I used to play as a junior up front, and so that was your first appearance in 85. And then because you're sort of part of the squad as this kind of fringe player, and you got the first experience where you really felt part of the squad in a proper fashion was when we went to the Adelaide tournament that year and got chosen alongside Senko Rastocic and Robbie Dragovic, who was also in the reserve side. We went with the senior squad to Adelaide, and that was a great experience for a young lad to be amongst all these older fellas, and you know, and seeing what everyone gets up to, and you know, tournament time, etc., etc. So that was something that you do remember and you sort of hold dear in your memories. And we went on to win the final against Adelaide Croatia 6-0 on a very wet day, I remember. So that was a great experience. Really, really enjoyed that. And that was probably, as I said earlier, the first part of feeling like you are part of a senior squad. And so from then, it kicked on into 1986, where you become a fully fledged member of the squad, although still a fringe player, but you train with them full time. And I remember we, mid-season in 86, Dennis Morovic went overseas, I remember, and we played against Croydon. Miro Hedges was our team manager at the time, I remember, and we played against Croydon, against people that you idolised as a kid who played for Mum in Croatia, and then they moved on to Croydon. A lot of these UK-based players, like Peter Blasby, Davey Brogan, there was Campbell was there, McIntosh.
Dave McIntosh, wow. Yeah.
Just to name a few. And I remember, I can't remember who got injured. It was probably about 10 minutes before half time, and that version of the game with the nod, you're coming on, and the ground is what stuck in my mind, because I look at the grounds today, if we had those kind of pitches in our day, we would have thought, wow, like, you know.
We are spoiled today, aren't we?
Just to give you an idea, pre-game, I remember the referee walking out with gumboots to check whether the game could go on, and he gave us the green light. Let's go, we're playing, and it was, the pitch was ridiculous, you know. And needless to say, we ended up drawing 4-4. I came on and we were 2-0 down or something like that, and I remember scoring 2 goals alongside Sveto Rasticic, who scored 2 goals, and we drew 4-4, I remember. And so that's a memory that, you know, stays with you still today. And then I got another start-up against Springvale the week after. We ended up playing against Springvale City. And I think by memory, Perry Muir, who would become a referee, was the goalkeeper, I think, in Springvale City by memory. I think, don't quote me on that, but I think he was, because we played at their ground. And I remember I ran into the goals in the first half, and they were made out of timber. And I must have obviously had a weak spot, because as I ran in, I stopped myself on the post, and the goals fell over. So this was like, you know, maybe about 25 minutes into the first half. And so I remember that we had to have a timeout, because I had to go get some goals from this other ground and bring them over. We went in the rooms while they did that, came back out, played the rest of that half, and then we had a short turnaround for half time, kicked off the second half, I remember, and I ended up scoring again. We won 1-0. And so I still played a few more games till big man Dennis came back, because Dennis was flying. He was top goal scorer in the league, and he was obviously a big name. And once he got back, I got pushed to the side, you know, as that's how it goes. I respected the opportunity that I got given. It was a great experience. And then as time goes on, fast forward to the Buffalo Gold Cup, and we used to have this pre-season tournament. So the top 4 teams in the state league would be part of this pre-season tournament.
And that was massive in those days.
It was massive.
It was big crowds.
Yeah.
Olympic Park, the old one, yeah.
I remember, and Buffalo was a sponsor. So I just remember, like, you know, we had these kits, and I still got that kit that I wore, you know, in that game. I look at the kit and I wonder how the hell did I fit in it. But we played this pre-season cup, and I remember I was there because Bukacic was our captain at the time, for a long time at the club, and he was retiring, and I think we were playing Brunswick, I can't remember, but he was going to play like half a game, and he was going to go off, and, you know, obviously they will send him off, and that was his last sort of game for the club. And Tony Vazina said, "You're going on the left back." I go, "Mate, I'll go on wherever you want. Just you know, you, as any young lad, you just want to play."
Just play, yeah.
And I went on, and
that's a good lesson for young kids out there, not to be spoiled, to say that's my position. I only want to play that position. No. You know, these days coaches really look at versatile players, and
I would have gone in goals if you said going in goals. You know what I mean? You're getting on. There's a big crowd. There was double headers in those days, you know. So you go on, there's a big crowd, and we ended up, I can't remember the result, whether we drew or we lost one, I can't remember. But either way, I had a good game in Tony Mazzina's eyes, and then found myself there again the following game. And as the season started proper, I found myself playing a left-back role, you know. And as time went on, I remember there was a game where George Radman, who was our centre-half, I think by memory he got injured. I think he actually unfortunately broke his leg even. I think it was against Albion, or can't remember, and I got shuffled across to centre half position, or stopper as they called it in those days. And from that point on is where you pretty much really solidified your career as a footballer at that level, as a defender. And so that was pretty much the starting of it all. And then, you know, as we sort of start to go through the years, you know, I remember Branko Trulna, who was a teammate of ours. Obviously, he retired in 88. And then in 89, he became our coach. Tony Vizino moved on. I think he ended up going to, in the NSL, I think by memory, I think it was Sydney, Croatia, or George Cross, I can't remember. Branko Trulna became our coach. And I think I was 18 at the time. And which was really left me pretty, you know, gobsmacked and humbled and freaked out at the same time. All in one. He chose me to be captain.
Wow, at the age of 18.
Yeah, I was turning 19 that year. It was 89. And
how's that received by some of the older blokes?
Look, I'll be honest with you. In those days, I mean, we had some visa players, as you sort of have, but they were Croatian guys. I mean, we had Velimir Kuprašak, who was my teammate prior to that. And we know Velimir Kuprašak went on to make a great career in the NSL. There was Dražen Božić. For me, he played like a sweeper role. And I'll be honest with you, as a footballer, in those days, if you remember, there was a player played for Adelaide City, Milan Ivanovic.
Yep.
For me personally, Dražen Božić, any day of the week, I'd have him in my squad in front of that other guy, you know, and he just was a player probably at the wrong place at the wrong time. And but as a footballer, what a talent. Then there was also Vlaho Matsan, who came in the trio, who didn't play many games for us because he got a call up to go to Spain in their second division.
Yeah.
A real gentleman. I learned so much from them. And the answer to your question was these people, being the characters that they were and the respect they had, how should I say, for me as just as a person, first and foremost, made it easy. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, captain to some of these people that they were all older than you know. But obviously I'd like to think that you did something or enough to gain some respect from them as a footballer, as a teammate. And I got to give them credit because they helped me learn. You know, they supported me and you know, you're still learning today. And I think having their support and obviously Branko's faith in me and the other people around the room, we're lucky and blessed to really have good characters.
Yeah.
You know, there was no egos. There was none of this, prima donna stuff. And I mean, there was real people who wanted to play for this club. And there was an honesty about the room. And I think the honest performances were displayed on a week-to-week basis, whether we won, lost, or draw. I could say one thing, that nobody walked off the pitch saying I cheated or I didn't do something for my teammate or whatever. I think it was just a different dynamic.
Yep.
And all of those things made it easy.
Yeah.
I mean, as a leader, was I a leader at the time? Probably not. Probably I was just a, title of a captain, you toss the coin. But I think over time you learnt to become a leader.
How many games did you play in total?
I think without going, and you probably have to go through the record books to get all this information. I did some kind of rough estimate at some point. It's plus 300.
Yeah.
But then you start incorporating tournaments and cup games and the other stuff. But it was over 300. I mean, you go through some of the records at the Federation, but you've got to go back to, I suppose, 86.
Yeah.
When you sort of played a bunch of games. You had the one appearance in 85. Then 87 is where you started to play more regular.
Yeah.
And then from then on, I suppose, all the way to 2001.
Yeah. When did you retire? 2001?
2001, I started having issues with, injuries with my back, I remember. And I remember Mickey Peterson was our coach in 2000, which... a person that I admire a lot too, and we have a friendship still today. And I started to struggle in 2001. I didn't start off the season, pre-season with my back, and And then Peter Cocker took over, and pretty much I kind of pulled the pin midway through that and sort of just assisted the club, I suppose, with Peter Cocker. And that was pretty much it, 2001, when you called it a day. And then it went on from that point. I mean, actually, I spent a small portion of time at Whittlesea Stallions where Phil Stubbers was coaching there in State 1 at the time. And because a previous teammate of mine, Consianides, went there to play, and Phil called me out of retirement to play. And I wasn't sort of super keen, but nevertheless, I went and played a bunch of games. We got promoted. And I said, look, I'm not playing anymore. I couldn't see myself playing against St Albans.
Yeah.
You know, I'd look like a real hypocrite, to be honest. I didn't want to do that. So I elected to go play, as most players that retire, St Albans Vukovar.
Yeah.
And you know, we played for quite a few years with so many ex-teammates.
Yeah.
I loved it. You know, we went a couple of years unbeaten or some crazy records like that. I had a lot of fun times. And that was something that really, you know, you still got that bug. You still want to have a kick, I suppose, but you still want to make sure you're adding value too.
Yeah.
So that was like the next phase, I suppose, you know.
Yeah. Back to your playing days at Dinamo, and you know, obviously a career that lasted, 15, 16 years, maybe even longer, quite a long season. What was maybe some of the fondest memories of that playing career time?
Well, look, again, I think, let's say, winning the tournament as a young kid.
So that first tournament in Adelaide,
tournament, 85. Obviously, you know, scoring, you know, those couple of goals in that off the bench in 86, and then scoring against, you know, as a young lad against Springvale. So you remember the goals. And then that Buffalo Gold Cup experience, you know, as a young player, being part of that tournament. And we were part of that tournament of quite a few years while the tournament was going. So that was a great experience. Then definitely remember the first tournament that St Albans hosted, and that was in, was it 89? I think it was 89 or 2000. No, what am I talking about? 1990, sorry.
Yep.
Apologies. 1990, Dinamo hosted the tournament. There was a record number of teams at that point to attend. I think it was something like 36 teams. And I just remember, you know, all the volunteers, and you see all that kind of stuff that goes on today.
I guess coincided with Croatia becoming democratic and a year later independent and all of that kind of stuff. So it was a real euphoria in the community.
Well, there was, there was some officials that come from overseas, I remember.
Singers, Djukac, remember those good days?
It was massive. It was a massive weekend, and we were blessed with perfect weather, actually pretty hot weather. And that tournament sticks in my mind a lot, you know, because Dinamo hosting it, big occasion. B, playing Sydney United in the semi-final. Tony Vizino, our ex-coach, was coaching them. And then you look at the squad that they had, you know, you had Manis Lamont, you had, you know, Ove, Kulitz in goals. You know, you had Popper playing, you had Petkovic playing, you know, all of these footballers that, again, were big names in football. Some went on to be big names in football still today.
And in those days, the clubs really sent their strongest team, didn't they? They didn't sort of send their youth team or their reserves team. It was the strongest team. That's right.
And obviously they respected the occasion, and credit to all the clubs. And we had them in the semi-final, and we ended up winning 2-1 on the Saturday afternoon. And we ended up, obviously, in the final with Melbourne Croatia on the Sunday. And I remember when you look back through your scrapbook and the photos, I mean, just remember there was thousands at the game. Just you look at Churchill Reserve, all four parts of the ground were just layers of people, you know what I mean? And again, perfect day. And, you know, Melbourne Croatia coming there with, you know, Andrew Marth, Tifi, Miller in goals, you know, Davo, they were all there, you know, and we ended up winning 2-1 in the final. And so that's something that really sticks in my mind. And then obviously you go through games, and there's so many games, so many moments that, you know, they all stick in in your memory bank, and they always will be part of that. Like I always say in football, you're making memories that nobody can take away from you. They were probably some of the biggest ones. Then we obviously had, again, 98 in the final, we lost against Bulleen. Being part of it, we were minor premiership with Lola Vance was coaching us. Unfortunately, we lost 3-2. But again, I still look at the achievements for the club. I still believe they were big occasions, and the club can be proud of that, just like I am being proud of being part of it, So there's some of the things that just now, as you mentioned, come to mind straight away.
Yeah. Well, we've been speaking to a living legend, a Dinamo living legend, Mickey Colina, about his playing days. That's the end of part one. We're going to, next week, continue with this fantastic interview, a real trip down memory lane. But we'll look at the next phase in your career, I guess, as coach and how that came about and up until the present. You're watching DinamoTV.
Westar Prestige is a family-owned second-generation business which is celebrating 50 years of operations this year. They're a specialist prestige collision repair facility situated in the western suburbs of Melbourne, Victoria. However, they service all regions in the state, with many of their clients travelling from far and wide to use their services. They're also able to provide a digital platform for quoting clients' vehicles who are unable to personally attend their premises. They're an authorised manufacturer-approved repair facilities for Mercedes-Benz, Tesla, Peugeot and Suzuki, and are proud of their ongoing affiliation with these brands. They also work closely with a number of Australia's largest insurance brands who entrust them to be part of their preferred repairer network. Their support staff are always happy to assist clients from the initial process of lodging claims through to the final stages of collection of the vehicle on completion of repairs and post-repair. So remember, for all your prestige collision repair needs, consider Westar Prestige, an award-winning, long-standing Australian-owned business.
Well, that brings us to the end of tonight's episode of DinamoTV. Next week, we'll be looking at that second part of that interview with Mickey Colina in the Living Legend series. We'll chat to Adam Tenanini, the under-23s coach, and wait for it, folks, we will be conducting the live tournament draw. You do not want to miss that. Until next Thursday, my name is Tonchi Prusats, and it has been an absolute pleasure bringing you DinamoTV tonight.